Well, hello and welcome to About the Valley. And I got a great guest tonight. It's Mark, and I'm going to try and say his name. You say it.
Okay, it's DerMugrditchian.
Yeah, okay. And being from Northbridge, we're all familiar with Armenian names.
Right.
But Mark, you're originally from Hudson?
Well, actually, believe it or not, I was born in Clinton, Mass, and then my mom was from Watertown. And so once I was born, my mother and father went back to Watertown. We lived with my grandparents in Watertown, Mass. I was there till I was about 13 years old, 13 or 14. Yep. And then the house that we were living in was a rented house. You know, back then times were tight.
Right.
And so my folks couldn't find anything in Watertown, so they kept coming west and west till they got to Hudson. And then they bought a house in Hudson, and then my teenage years through my 20s, I lived in Hudson, Mass. Yeah, and then when I got married, I moved here.
That's still happening now. People are coming out of in Boston area looking for a house. They can't afford one.
Right.
They move west.
Yeah, they keep it, and they're going past here now.
Yeah.
They have to go
now
past
they're
here.
starting to go out toward the other side of Sturbridge.
Right.
But what Mark did is, well, he wrote a book about an experience he had. I don't need to show you because it's right there in the green screen. And what he did is he decided with two friends of his to travel to California by through the south, all the way down to Texas, on motorcycles. And this was 1976.
Right.
During our bicentennial, I should say.
Right.
And think about it. I mean, you're taking off on motorcycles and just a few bucks in your pocket and a tent, and you're going to make it all the way, and you're talking weeks, taking your time because you want to see the whole country. And it's quite a thing. I mean, today I wouldn't even advise it.
Well, back then, first of all, it wasn't our goal was to end up in California because back then everybody wanted to see California.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? So that was the goal, but sort of the mission was to meander throughout the country. And the reason that we went south is we left in September.
Right.
And so we had this, it was warmer and warmer. We wanted to get to where it was at least somewhat comfortable because it was fall going through winter, coming into winter. But we just...
But you didn't find that, though.
Yeah, no, there was some cold spots.
It wasn't getting warmer, you were getting colder.
Yeah, there were a lot of, we got a few surprises, but it was definitely warmer than, like, the route we came back, or the way we came back was more through the northern areas.
Right,
northern
and that
state.
you did in the spring.
In the spring, but we didn't have any plans. We didn't have any set route. We didn't have any set number of days. We just were leaving. Once we said goodbye to our folks, it was just, we were just going to go and live amongst the people and the land all over and just see what it was like to be in different parts of the country. So yeah, all we had, well, first of all, the motorcycles were small motorcycles compared to today.
350 Hondas.
Yeah. There were 360, Honda CB 360T, but it was a spin-off from the original 350.
Yeah.
And today, I think that's about the size of a motorcycle they use for a dirt bike, in the woods.
Right.
They don't ride those on the road.
You're not talking comfort.
Right. I don't think I could go 5 days on a bike like that now.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, so we had that bike, and then, we basically only had one tent, 4-man tent, and then we each had sleeping bags, and we had one little cook stove.
Good that they were mummy bags.
Right.
I know a mummy bag. I was in the military.
Yeah. Okay. So so we got those kind of things on purpose.
Yeah.
So that wherever we were, we'd be somewhat comfortable.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know if it was going to be real cold, real hot.
You can have you can be down to 0. If you're in a mummy bag, you don't know it.
Yeah. Well, it's
you
got to
get
be
out.
a good one.
Until you get out.
Yeah, but that Marfa, Texas part there, we were so cold that we never knew we were going to get out.
I know what it's like. I bivouacked in cold weather, and you didn't want to get out of that bag.
No, I know. At least back then I didn't have to go to the bathroom so often at night, so we could make it through most of the night.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so we each had about $1,000. That's it.
Yeah.
And so we had to get jobs. We knew we were going to work along the way,
Yeah.
and so we just basically started to head south, a little southeast, and wherever we stopped at the end of the day is where we slept.
And you looked at it, when you saw something of interest, you went and see it.
Right.
But really, it's amazing, and it's also the book, how many people you met who were so good. People who let you sleep in their homes.
Yeah, we didn't do that. I mean, we did that more than you would think, but you know
I mean,
what?
to complete strangers
Yes.
that let you stay over. Oh, you can sleep in our house tonight.
Yeah, so that's why I dedicated that book, the book that I wrote, to all the nice people, or the people that were nice to us along the
Right.
way. You'd be surprised. One of my, the 4 themes in this book, one is to think big,
Yep.
and big things happen. The second theme is to dream and keep dreaming. And if you dream hard and long enough, your dreams will come true. Never give up on your dreams. And that trip was one of my dreams. I dreamt of that trip since I was, 13 years old. I love Westerns, and I always watch, in the Western, see the cowboys riding along,
Right.
or wherever they get at the end of the
Well,
day.
you get that in the book. You wanted to work on a ranch.
Yeah, we tried how many times
Yeah.
to get that. We got jobs, but we could never get to work on a ranch. They probably thought we were too much of a greenhorn. But, that's important, to keep dreaming. And the third theme in the book was to be nice to people, and people will be nice to you. So we were nice to people. We'd help strangers. If somebody got hurt, we'd help them, or they needed something fixed and we happened to meet them, we'd help them fix things.
Yeah, I see that. You had, well, even that in that place outside of New Orleans, I think it was. No, not New Orleans, in Houston,
Yep.
where you went to this place that probably was a drug place,
Oh, yeah, I know.
and the door was falling off, and you helped the guy out. You fixed it up.
Right. So we did that a lot. There were a lot of places. Well, we even met down near Corpus Christi. We were looking for a particular address, but while we were looking, we stopped for a minute to take a break, and there was a person that just sleeps outside all the time.
Yep.
He was in bad shape, and he was
Yeah.
asking us for money, and we talked to him.
You inspired him to get himself out of the gutter.
Yeah. I can't believe that I did that, or we did that. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy.
Yeah.
But that's the way we were.
Too
And
bad
so-
you couldn't follow up and find out exactly
Yeah.
how he meant. But he left you feeling more confident.
Yes, to us, it sounded like he was no longer going to be, a guy that's sleeping on
Yeah.
a park bench, and he was going to get up and make something of his life,
Yeah,
and
instead
that's
of
how
giving
we.
him a bunch of change, you gave him some good advice.
Yeah, and we didn't have enough money to give him anyways,
Right.
and we helped him out. We maybe gave him a little food, you know what I mean, and,
Yeah.
and got him going. But I think we really inspired him. I never forget that. I could see him sitting on that concrete bench. It was a concrete bench down near that Corpus Christi area. I could
Yes.
still see him sitting there today. And so, and the last theme in the book that goes throughout the book is to thank God for all his blessings. And boy, we were lucky along the way. Was good to us. How
Yeah,
many
there were a
times
number of times you could have got yourself in big trouble or even killed.
Yeah. There were a few unfortunate situations where we ended up in a little brawl somewhere, and
Well, how about your experience with the Banditos?
down in Big
Yeah.
Bend National Park
Yeah.
in Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was. Well, the funny thing about that is wherever we went in the country, one thing is that my Boy Scout days when I was a little kid, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts were
Yep.
great. And that organization really teaches boys a lot of helpful things. So I was the only one of the 3 of us that had been in the Boy Scouts. But I used to love to hike, and we used to love to camp out in the big woods.
Right.
And so I dragged my 2 buddies with me camping. So on the motorcycles was a backpack and all our gear, but whenever we got to a national park, like we camped and hiked in the Smoky Mountains in Shenandoah.
yeah.
We were in
And
Big
you
Bend.
actually found another trail back using a compass.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you
good.
really could find.
Oh, I did read the book. Believe me, I did.
Well, yeah, and I still do that today. So I use the compass a lot. I'm a sailor now, so I use it. But I grew up maybe with 4 or 5 guys, and we go up to the Boy Scout camp, and we camp out in the wintertime.
Oh, Treasure Valley?
Treasure Valley, and believe it or not, in February. and then we'll blaze a trail. I show them and teach them how to leave a spot and come back to that same spot with no map, just using the compass.
Yep,
And so once a year, I have a bunch of rookies and I show them how to do that, and they all get a thrill, because we usually come out somewheres maybe within 50 to 100 yards of where we started.
yeah.
So we used to do that when we hiked, and we got to hike in a lot of big parks. You know, we were in the Grand Canyon, we were at the Death Valley, we hiked in most of the big
That was on
national
your way
parks.
back.
Grand Canyon was on the way back,
Yeah, 'cause that
Death
wasn't
Valley
in the
was on the
book.
way back. Out there, we did Smoky Mountain, we
Yeah,
did
you spent a long
Shenandoah.
time in Virginia and in Tennessee, in that area.
Yeah, in the woods.
Yeah,
It was neat. And so we had to take the 65 pounds worth of gear and put it on our backs and hike. We used to hike about 8 to 10 miles into the woods and then camp. And then we'd stay there for 3-4 days, and then we'd hike back and get on the bikes and go try to find a YMCA or somewhere where we could take a shower reasonable, you know.
well,
what I
that's the other thing too, you know, I mean, you didn't have toilet facilities with you, you didn't have a trailer where you had a bathroom, so everything had to be, you were really roughing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I said I don't know if I could do it today, but we were in all kinds of elements of weather
Yeah,
with nothing.
yeah, if it rained, you got rained on.
Right, right. The trip from Houston to Dallas, we were riding in the snow.
Yeah,
It was snowing.
yeah, and who would think in November, December, you'd get snow in Dallas?
Yeah, we didn't kind of plan for that. I remember having to put my feet up on the fins of the engine to try to keep them warm as we were driving. It was
Yeah,
horrible.
because that was a time when we were having early winters. We were getting hammered up here. It was just before the blizzard of '78,
Right.
and right up until then, we got a lot of snow.
Well, that was a tough trip. It was 250 miles.
Yeah.
And it was, to be honest with you, it was miserable, but we had to do it because we told friends of mine that we'd stop in and see them in Dallas. Plus, as you said, Harry, we tried to stop and see a lot of places of interest along
Right.
the way. Davy Crockett's house. If we were within 100 miles of Davy Crockett's house, I
Yeah,
was
you-
driving
Yeah,
there.
you did. You said you
Yeah.
saw Davy Crockett's Tavern,
Right.
and then you found his house.
Right. I had to convince my buddies that they didn't care about that, right? So I said, come
Right.
on, we're going there.
You
I'm
think
not
like
going to
me.
pass by and not see Davy Crockett's house.
I'm with you. That's what I would want to see. I'm a big history guy anyway.
Yeah. So I did. We tried to touch base with all the different places of interest that we could along the
Yep.
way.
But you know, you're getting to Texas. People don't realize around here. You drive from town to town. You don't know when you went to the next town because there's no breaks.
Right.
Down in Texas, you go for miles.
Yeah.
With nothing.
Days in some cases.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
nothing.
Right.
I mean, just open space. If you break down, you hope somebody comes by.
Right. The funny part is that we actually planned a little bit for some of that because we carried a small little quart container that
Yep.
was specific to hold gasoline.
Right.
Just in case
Yeah, just in
that
case you ran out
happened.
of gas.
You'd need a little bit to get another 50 miles or
Yep.
so. And, oh yeah.
And back then, there were no cell phones.
No.
So the other thing was, you couldn't communicate with people back home
Well, what
unless you
happened,
got to a phone and you might call.
well, Harry, what we did was, the way we communicated. First, again, we didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
And we needed the money for food and gas, those two things, and a beer once in a while. So we didn't have a lot of money. And so what we would do is we'd try to call, collect, but we couldn't do that too much to our folks.
Right.
You know, because they were, everybody needed
You
some
know,
money
today
back
you'd
then.
have an ATM card
Yeah.
or a credit card, so you'd always have some backup. You didn't have that then.
No, nothing. So once we were gone, we were gone. What we did was send letters back, or little notes
Yep.
from different post office, wherever we were, and they got a kind of, and I remember what we also used to do is tell them where we thought we'd be at a certain time.
And they'd send the letter general delivery.
Right, and
Yeah.
we'd pick it up when we got there.
Yeah.
Sometimes my mother or Steve's mother or Tom's mother, those were the two friends that came, they would send a little goodie bag with some
Yeah.
stuff in it, you know what I mean? And
Well, you got your aunts to send you the flashlights and the batteries.
Yeah.
From
Rayovac.
Rayovac
Yeah.
in Clinton. Is
Yeah.
that place still open?
No, Gonzo, Rayovac is, yeah, they're not there anymore. They still make batteries and still make flashlights, but it was a very large facility in Clinton, but that's gone. The building's there. I don't know what they're doing in it, but that's gone.
'Cause I'm familiar with Clinton, I never knew they were there.
Oh yeah, down in the valley there, by right at the Nashua River, right along the Nashua River.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
yeah,
If you come down the hill from Route 70,
yeah,
and before you go up into the town, up the hill,
Yeah.
they're right there on the right side, right by
Yeah.
the river.
okay,
Yeah, big. So yeah, those are the kind of things. And I remember saying to my folks, not to my, well, in a letter I said to them, we're going to try to get on TV so you can see us.
yes, and you did,
Yeah. So that was kind of a dream or a goal in mind. My friends, I said, we're going to start to get, people are going to know about us. I said, we're going to get on national TV. And they said, how are we going
football
to
in
do that?
that area, college football is huge. And you fit right in, because you had the right outfits, you had those orange raincoats.
Yeah, well, that was in, so how that worked out was, that was in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Right.
So one thing that we did along this trip to survive, because that's what we were doing, is trying to survive while we were just exploring. It was like the Cowboys, just meandering through the West.
Yep.
Where we were just trying to, just every day, get up, smell the flowers, look at the sun, feel good. And so where we go today? What do we want to do today? That's it. We didn't have a schedule to keep.
Right.
So maybe we'll go help Bob over there today. Maybe we'll get a job here or whatever. So one thing that we did do, just so that we wouldn't always have to sleep on the ground, wet ground, cold ground,
Right.
whatever, we might pull into a city area. And in the city, a few times we'd sleep in a park or something and the police would come and move you out. Or we'd sleep somewhere and somebody, a store owner would come and move you out because there wasn't big open woods to sleep in.
Right,
So if in a city, we'd pull in and we might go to a bar and sit in the bar. We only had money for one beer each, so we'd
you nursed the hell out of it.
nurse
Stay
that
warm.
beer, and then we'd sit next to you and we'd be talking to you.
Yeah.
And then you'd say, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're traveling around. Where are you from? Well, we'd always say Boston, because
Right.
nobody knew. When I left from, two of us left from Hudson and one from Milford.
Yeah, no one would know where those were.
No, not once you get past New
Right.
England. So we say we're from Boston, and then they say, well, what are you doing? Oh, we're just traveling around. Where do you stay? Oh, we have to sleep on the ground at the end of the day, wherever we get to.
Right.
Imagine, we didn't know where we were going. So when we got to Northbridge, if we were passing through Northbridge, say this town, and it was 8, 9 o'clock at night, dark, we'd say, well, we got to stop to sleep somewhere, and that's when we'd scramble around and find a place that we could either pitch the tent or sleep next to the bike, or if we got into a pub or somewhere, we'd talk to you, and you might say, oh, if you want, you could sleep in my backyard.
Yeah,
Or-
I see that. A number of times you slept in people's yards.
Yeah, and that was a big break for us. We didn't have to worry about anybody, the police coming and telling you to get
But then a
out.
lot of times people actually had you in their house.
They did, which was amazing. So those folks would actually say, look, I don't have an extra bed, but if you would like, you could sleep on my living room floor.
Yeah,
Now, how many people would do that?
complete strangers.
Yeah, so on both sides, how many people would allow you to come in? 3 young guys, and we did have beards by then, but we kept them neat and clean. Our clothes we weren't bums, but still, 3 young men they're going to let in their house. They don't know who we are, but they did, and we slept like right here on there. We were thrilled to roll out a sleeping bag on somebody's living room floor, and then we never gave it a thought. We were in one house that was nasty. We almost got killed in that house. It was a drug haven. We didn't know it.
Right.
Did you remember the part about Monkey in there? That guy Monkey
Yeah.
and we stayed up till like 3 a.m. at the bars. They were trying each bar. The bouncer went from one bar to the next. He said, I said, well, when are we going to go back to your house so we can sleep? Oh, well, we got to go over here and meet so-and-so. We'll get there. By the time we followed him, and the house was down this dark dirt road.
That was in New Orleans, wasn't it? Or,
No, that was somewheres up near Alabama. It was in Alabama or Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Nashville. But
Nashville, yeah.
That was a weird experience.
Yes, no,
but,
it was Nashville. I mean, I'm trying to recall the book. I mean, I read the whole book quick.
but that's why I'm saying we did meet people, and they did invite us in, And I would say,
Well, you know
most of the time, everybody was very nice.
What
Very
really,
nice.
too, got me, well, you guys were all college grads,
Right,
so you knew your way around campus.
right.
You got to stay a lot in dorms.
We did that on purpose.
Yeah.
So we'd come in, like, if we go into a college town, and we'd go to the college town on purpose.
Yeah. And there's a lot of college towns everywhere.
Yeah. So we were 25. All of us were about 25. One, I think Tom might have been 24. And so we were not far out of college. And so we'd go to these colleges and do the same thing, go to their pub or somewhere, hang around their dorm room, their dorm, till they talked to us. And either the guys or the gals would let us in the dorms, and we'd sleep in the end, one of the, the lounges in the, in the dorms.
Right.
Some
Well,
of them
some
let us
cases, they
sleep
let
in
you
their
in their
rooms.
room.
Yeah, a lot of cases we slept in their room. We made friends everywhere. It was just one of those things. Part of it was all three of us were pretty gregarious, myself and Steve the
Yep.
most. And so we just made friends.
And you also use the libraries.
Yeah, we get to sit there and read, relax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we did stuff that I don't think I would think of doing today, but we did it, and we just made ourselves at home. People were nice to us. So in Knoxville, Tennessee, we went there, and that was a big one. That was part of the dream to get on TV. I
Right.
said, we want to get on national TV. So in Knoxville, that's where the University of Tennessee is. That's a big, big college. So we were there for 3-4 days. A bunch of guys liked us, so we stayed with these guys in their dorms. I remember they used to give us their food tickets so we could go.
Yeah, you'd eat at the cafeterias.
Yeah, so, we were eating cold beans and junk on the side of the road.
Right.
Little stuff and heating it up on a Bunsen burner. So to go into a cafeteria and have all you could eat, we were chowing down that food like crazy.
Oh, these college cafeterias, they got everything. Too.
Yeah, everything. I remember standing in front of the milk machine and just drinking 3, 4, 5 glasses of milk, And so, anyways.
And no one questioned it.
Nobody, because we looked like we were
Like you were students.
Students. So, and we didn't do anything bad. We never really stole from anybody. Those guys gave us those cards. They said, go ahead, you can go eat, so that we know you don't get to eat that good, so go ahead and eat. So I think it was about, at the end of the week, we were there on a Monday, and by Friday, they said, oh, we're going to go into town tonight. You guys want to come with us? Well, we never said no to going to a good time and a party.
Right.
We didn't have much money for beers, and believe it or not, these kids would say, well, don't worry, the beers are on us tonight. So we'd go into town, and when we were in Knoxville, I remember seeing all the people, tons of people, the streets were packed, and everybody had their faces painted orange and white. They had their teeth painted orange and white. They were dressed that way.
Oh, they get into the football. That was probably a homecoming game.
That was a big game, big homecoming game.
Yeah.
And so I said to one of the guys there, I said, well, why are these people all dressed like this? He said, oh, we got a big game. This is the alumni. They all come back for this
Yep.
game. This is Tennessee versus Alabama.
Yeah, that's a
huge
big rivalry.
Yeah, huge game. So I said, really? Where is it? It's going to be here at Knoxville? They said, yeah. So right off the bat, the bell went off in my head. I turned to my two friends and I said, here's how we're going to get on TV. Because we used to have, again, we had no money. So
Right.
we used to buy these cheap plastic orange rain suits, a little jacket, and a little,
Yeah.
they'd rip easy. We bought a set before we left, and we had to nurse that rain suit all the way through the trip. But it was the exact same color orange as the school colors.
Yeah.
So
Right
I
on
said, we're
target.
going to wear that to the game. And my friend said, how are we going to get on TV with that? And I said, because we're going to write on the front in white medical tape, Go Vols, 2 letters each across the 3 of us. And on the back, we're going to put Hi ABC. And we're going to march around and we're going to get on TV.
Yeah, the camera's going to pick you up.
Yeah. So what happened was these kids got us tickets to the game. But when we went to the game, so now we're walking to the game, and all we had for shoes on this trip was work boots. We had a big heavy-duty pair of work boots. That's all we wore all the time. And we brought our white tennis sneakers because we played tennis everywhere. We
Right.
carried our tennis rackets because we all played tennis.
Yeah, you played a lot of tennis.
Played a lot of tennis, and I mean, we played football, basketball, but
Right.
tennis was something we liked to keep playing. So we used to strap our rackets on the backpacks and the bikes. So the sneakers were white, and the lettering was white. And we got in and we were in I think the top row, 90,000, 80-something thousand people. And, after the first quarter, almost the middle of the second quarter, one of my buddies was whining. He said, we're never going to get on TV. We wore all this stuff for nothing. He said, they're not going to look up here. I says, you're right, they're not looking up here. I said, but look down there. You see that section there around the 50-yard line down there? That must be the alumni section, because the camera just keeps going back and forth like this down there. So we're going down there at halftime. So at halftime, we went down there, and I think I was the one arguing with the security guard.
Yeah.
Would he please let us just walk through on the corridor areas so that the camera can see us? I said, we told our parents we were going to get on national television. They just want to see if we're
And he
okay.
probably thought you were students at
Yeah, he didn't know who we
university
were.
anyway, right.
So I said, our parents just want to see us so they know we're okay, that we're healthy, right? And he said, I can't let you in, I can't do that. And all of a sudden, the captain of the cheerleaders called us from down. She was down, way down on the field, and she's waving to us and saying, come on down. So we flew right, I don't even remember jumping over the wall. We just flew right down there, and we spent the whole second half of the game on the field with the cheerleaders.
Interacting with the cheerleaders.
Yeah, we were flipping them off our shoulders. We were spinning them around. They were and then they liked what we were doing so much, they gave us a remote mic and said, would you guys go around to the visitor side there and rattle them up a little bit? We said, what do we care? We're not afraid. So they gave us the mic, and we went around the other side, and we're yelling, beat Bama, and the crowd was going wild. And so when the game was over, we went back. The girls said, I remember that the cheerleader said to us, hey, you guys can do all the games from here on in. I said, no, we can't. She said, don't worry about it. She said, we'll get you on the buses, too. You can do the away games. And I kept saying, no, we can't do it. And she, what do you mean you can't do it? We're going to get permission. You guys were great. You can be part of our show thing. And I finally said, we're not going to be here. We're leaving. We don't.
Did they know you were traveling?
No. She
They
said,
thought you were a student, too.
you don't go to school here? I said, no, we don't go to school here. We're just passing through. Where you from? We said, Boston. And I'll never forget, the girl said, leave it to 3 guys from Boston to come here and do that. So that was so we went to after the game parties, and we were like celebrities.
Yeah.
These are the guys who are on TV.
Well, that's another thing that took place is people don't realize that if you live around here, how strong that Boston accent is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I worked for a company out of the South for 30 years. So I dealt with a lot of people in the South, and they knew right away when you called.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't think about it. I kind of lost mine because I'm in broadcasting, so I try to lose it as much as possible. But, I mean, the real strong Boston accent comes across very strong, and people all over the country love it.
Yeah, they always tease me about it, but because when I was working, I did cover North America, and they pegged me all the time,
You know, if it ends in ER, you put an A.
Yeah.
If it ends in A, you put an ER.
Yeah, it's just, you know how it is, and they always tease me about park the car in Harvard Yard,
Yeah.
And I don't hear any accent, but everybody hears it.
Oh, they hear it real strong.
Well, after that day, we stayed one more day at the University of Tennessee, and then it was time to move on.
Yep.
And we said, where we go? And we spin the needle, and we went that way. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That's what was so unique about. There are plenty of people that either take a bike or a sports car or a motorcycle, and they go from here across the country. But they map out the route,
Right.
and then they just go. And
Right.
within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they're home. You know what I mean? We didn't plan on coming home. We just planned on constantly migrating around. And I would tell you that it was the first time in my life that I really got to smell the roses. You don't know how much you slow down and really experience all of life. Just what a hamburger tastes like, or just to sit and watch the wind blow through a grassy field. You slow way down out of the corporate world. And
Well, you know when you get out in the desolate areas, how many stars you see.
yeah. Oh, yeah, we slept under them all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you go out at night around here, you don't see that many stars.
With a lot of light pollution.
Right. But you get out in those desolate areas, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
There were times, you know, where we'd pull up at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. It wasn't raining. So instead of pitching the tent, we'd just roll out our bags
Yep.
right next to the motorcycles and just sleep there. And next
Yeah.
day get up and go somewhere else. But those are the experiences that they're hard to replicate, and that's why I said even in the part of the book, this is the kind of trip that most people only dream about.
Oh, yeah.
I was just so fortunate enough that the Lord let me do it somehow. I
Well,
got to do
The thing
this
is,
trip.
if you had been any older, you probably wouldn't have done it, because you would have said, it's crazy.
Right, right.
But you were
Because-
young enough at the time.
Yeah, not too young, right in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle, and you're willing to take the shot.
Right. Well, we had to quit our jobs. We
Yeah.
worked hard to get through school. 2 years after school, I couldn't get a job because I was trained as a teacher, and I was struggling. In 1974, you couldn't pay a school to hire you. There
Right.
was no jobs, nothing.
Right.
So I worked 6, 7 jobs. I'd pick up jobs coaching swim teams. I'd pick up jobs, you know, judging diving events and swimming events or anything, sweeping streets, whatever I could do.
But you the one that you worked at the Y, right?
Yeah, I finally landed a job.
But that came in handy,
It did.
because then when you went to towns where there was a Y, you knew who to talk to and how to talk to them, and
Yeah, and why do you think we did that?
yeah,
Because they let us come in and take showers,
right,
right, and do
Right.
our laundry there.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they'd say, "Oh, yeah, you guys want?" We played basketball or racquetball.
Yeah.
And so we'd purposely go to YMCA's and say I was like an assistant director in New England. I'd
Yeah.
like to see how you're running your YMCA's, and it was genuine because I was
Yeah.
planning someday if I ever got back, that's what I would do.
right.
And they would open up the place, so that's how we got
The only thing
showers.
you couldn't do is sleep there.
Well, we slept some of them would let us sleep in the back fields,
Right,
right? We couldn't sleep inside, but we'd sleep in the numerous places. We slept in their fields. Remember
Yeah.
the one in Houston? We slept in that inside the track circle there.
right.
We'd be up in the morning trying to sleep in a little bit, and
Yeah,
everybody's up there
people's
6
out
running
walking-
around
running
the
around
track.
the track. Yeah.
Yep.
And now, I've been to New Orleans. It is a party city.
Oh yeah,
But boy, you
always
guys,
has been.
yeah, you guys really partied there.
Yeah. Well, you know, we were 25 years old.
Yeah.
And
But one thing with New Orleans, bars don't close.
no.
I was there with a buddy of mine at a meeting. We had a national sales meeting, and we're sitting in a bar, and I says, "Well, you know, we have to be at a meeting at 8 o'clock. I said, maybe we ought to think about going to bed and look at the watch. It's 4 in the morning." I said, "Oh my God, it's 4 in the morning. We'll be in a meeting in 4 hours."
Yeah, they don't stop. They don't stop down
You
there.
don't even realize it.
That was where we ran into. There were 2 parts of this trip that really might have been 3, but there were 2 parts of the trip that are in the book that I remember that we ended up, you know, in a little bit of a brawl.
Yeah.
Right? One was in Tennessee. I think it was Tennessee, where we were in a bar and, you know, we're talking to these girls and these other guys didn't like. And one was
I remember that.
we
yeah.
were dancing, and my friend Steve, this big guy, kept banging into him and bumping and stepping on his
Stepped
feet.
on his feet, yeah.
and pushing the
walked by and
girl
stepped
that he
on
was
him.
with. And so my friend finally got tired of it, and he hit him. And, you know, we were kind of tough dudes. He hit him, and then the whole place blew up in a big brawl. And I remember my friend Tom and I had to go because there were like 2, 3 guys on my friend Steve. And we got them off, and then we're fighting, and, you know, I had a couple of guys I was dealing with, and then I knocked them out or whatever. And then one guy, he was bigger than me, and I got him on the ground. And, you know, when you're in a situation like that, I really rarely did that. But when you're in a situation like that and you're by yourself, meaning we're away from home,
Yeah.
you're not in an area you know, you're fighting for your life because you don't know what they're going to do for you. So we were down in the, you know, in
We
the
don't know if
south.
somebody's gonna pull out a gun.
Yeah, you'll hit you with a bottle
knife.
or they're going to kill you. So I remember this one guy that was beating on my friend. I grabbed his arm and I broke his arm. I didn't write it in the book too much, but I remember snapping his arm on my leg, right? And then my friend Tom and I was finishing this guy off, and my friend Tom said, come on, let him go. You already broke his arm. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
The police are coming. We have to go. So we ran out the door, got on the motorcycles, and took off.
Yeah, if the cops came in, they'll nail you guys because you're from out of town.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's what we were worried about. So we just had to leave there. So we left. And then in New Orleans, that was the only other time it happened again. Well, there was one in Houston, in Texas, but in New Orleans.
We were with some girls in New Orleans when it happened.
Yeah,
Again.
we were just talking to these two girls, all were friendly,
Yep.
and these two big guys. They had to be 6'3", 6'4". Two of them come out of the shadows. They had pipes in their hands. They
Yeah.
said, "Hey, what are you doing talking to our girls?" And so we're thinking, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble here." And we said to the girls, "Are you with them?" And they said, "No, we don't even know them." So we ignored them, and the guys kept doing, "What are you doing? We don't want you guys," especially one of them was saying, "We don't want you Yankees coming down here talking to our girls." And we said, "Well, they're not with you." We were trying to be nice about it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then all of a sudden it happened. They went after us with those pipes. And,
But you turned it on.
yeah, well, it was a little scary there for a
Yeah.
while. But in the end, my friend took care of one, and we're going back and forth. The other one was getting them. I running around the car to try to stay away from the guy because he had a big pipe in his hand. And then when one of them was on my friend, starting to beat him up bad,
Yep.
I remember kicking him. I jumped over there, kicked him over, and then I took that pipe and I broke his legs with it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds bad, but I had no choice.
Well, you do what you got to do.
I had
It's
no choice.
survival.
I didn't know these guys from Adam. They
Right.
were 50, 60 pounds heavier than us. And it sounded and it looked to me, they came at us with a weapon, you know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
know what they were going to do. So I had to disable this guy. The other guy we knocked out, right?
Yep.
Bumped his head on the car bumper, and that was the end of him. But if this guy got up, he might have hit us in the head with that pipe. So we did what we had to do, and then the girls jumped on our motorcycles and we took off. And but yeah, they weren't too much of that. Most of the people that we met were just unbelievable. There was a lady in Tennessee that we met that we were doing our laundry, and she came by and she said, "Oh, you guys it doesn't look like you know how to do laundry." I said, no, we don't know how to do laundry. We're just going to throw it in. She said, "You can't just dump the soap in like that." I said, "That doesn't matter. We don't have much clothes." All we had was, when we left the house in Hudson and from Milford, we just had 2 pairs of jeans,
Yep.
2 flannel shirts, 2 T-shirts, a pair of gym shorts to play sports in,
Right.
and a couple of pairs of socks and 2 pairs of underwear. That's it.
Yes,
So-
you had to wash your clothes pretty much. Because,
yeah, but back then we had to wear them for a week and then
Yep.
wash those and put the other stuff on for
Yeah.
a week. And so we were washing our clothes, and that lady said to us, I'll never forget it. She was a short little lady. Her hair was up in a bun. Nice lady. She said, I'm old now, right? I thought she was old. She must have been about 50. Think of this old lady, right? So she said, "You guys go ahead around the town and explore the town here. Come back in an hour and I'll have your clothes done for you. It'll be all folded up." So
Yeah.
we're looking at each other and said, "That sounds okay to us." We took off.
Yeah.
We came back in an hour. There they were. Clothes were done. And so she says, "When's the last time you had a nice home-cooked meal?" And we said, "Oh, we've been gone for 2.5 months now. We haven't. We're just eating on the side of the road or in campgrounds and stuff, or McDonald's all the time." She said, "Well, why don't you come to my house? Here's my address." Imagine this.
Yep.
She gave us her name and address, and she said, "It's only 4 o'clock. Come to my house around 6:30, and I'm going to show you some good Southern hospitality. We'll have a nice big meal. We'll have some ham and grits and all that." And we said to each other, "That sounds great." So we got to her house, and we're sitting there, and she said, "My son's going to love meeting you." So, and we asked where her husband was. Well, he had passed away. So she was a widower. So here's a widower
Yeah.
inviting 3 young 25-year-old guys
Yeah,
that
she
could be
never knew-
dangerous.
never met
right?
before.
It'd be different if we were old guys or
Yeah,
kids, but we were
right.
25.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, my son's going to love meeting you and talking to you guys and hearing your adventures." And he's only 19. So, of course, a 19-year-old that's still in school was looking up to us like we're
Oh, yeah.
we're the big guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that worked out neat. And we stayed there and ate. I remember, I can't remember who they were playing. It was the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series, and I think we watched like the 4th or the 5th game of that. And then it was time to leave. She let us stay around, and so we felt bad. So we asked her, "What needs to be fixed? Do you have anything that's broken, or what could we do for you?" She's nothing. She said, "Well, I'm good." I insisted, and you know, I do carpentry, plumbing, electrical work. I can do mechanical work. I was the one fixing the motorcycles, and so we would, along this trip, we would fix things for people, fix their fences, fix their broken doors or windows or
Yep.
whatever we could do for people, we would do. So we fixed the stuff for her, then we said thank you, and we left. And I have to tell you, I really wish I could. There were so many nice people. The fellow that owned the apple orchard that we got a job with in Virginia, remember in Virginia, we worked in the apple orchard?
Yeah, you picked those apples for
So we
a few days there.
needed money. We were there for a week.
Yeah.
So we needed a place to stay. So that there was an ad in the paper. They were looking for help. Somebody in a grocery store, or like a little corner, a little variety store, old-fashioned store. They told us, if you need a job, go see Mr. Wren at this apple orchard. So we went there, and he hired us. And then we used to sit and try to eat some apples or eat a peanut butter sandwich for lunch. And he'd say, "Hey, why don't you boys come with me? I'm going to go down and have lunch at the cafe down there," whatever it was, a little corner store that had a little lunch counter. And so he'd buy us our lunch. And we said, "You don't have to." He said, "Don't worry about it. You just come with me."
Oh, then you had a man take you in.
Yeah,
live in
that
his
was
house.
Bill Devers. He
Yeah.
was the foreman at the apple orchard.
Right, he took you into his house.
He was 65 years old. He was a farmer, and he ran the apple orchard for Mr. Wren. And I can see him today. He had the blue overalls and a blue denim shirt and his big work boots. And yes, Mr. Wren said, "You know, Bill wants you to go stay at his house." And we said, "Well, we're just sleeping in the apple. We're just thrilled to sleep under the apple trees.
Right.
You know, nobody's going to tell us to get out."
Right.
And so he said, "Well, look, his wife has passed away. He's kind of lonely. You'd be doing him a favor, and you'd be doing me a favor if you go stay with him." So we stayed with him for a week, right? So he lived down this long little whiny country road, no lights, nothing. Old farmhouse with an outhouse,
Yep.
right? This house barely had oil. The electricity, one light in each room. It was always dark in there trying to read the newspaper or something. But we would have dinner. We did his cooking for him and helped him out. And he'd wake us up at 5 in the morning. And
Yep.
we didn't have to be at the apple orchard till 7:30. He'd wake us up at 5. Of course, we'd be out partying at night, meeting whoever and we'd show back up and go into the house. The doors were never locked. And we'd flip to see who gets to sleep on the floor or on the couch. And we took turns. But in the morning, he'd wake us up. We had to go feed the cows and the chickens and the
feed all the
pigs
animals.
and the sheep that he had. And then we'd drive to work
Yep.
and pick the apples. And I only wish, with all these nice people, and there's more that I could tell you about, I just wish, when I got home, you know, life got busy again. That real slow pace that I got to experience, I kept it for about a year. But after about a year, I got into the groove of fighting to get a job, full-time
Right.
career. You know, by then I was 26, going on 27. I had to get a job. And then, you know, after I got a full-time job, then I eventually got married, and then eventually I had kids, and that was it. No time to finish the book. The book was done in 1978. I couldn't get it published at first. And then, so it just sat there. It was a dream of mine, but it just sat there. You know what it's like. You get into the rat race of life, and that was
Right.
it. I wish that I could have taken a moment to find those people that were really extraordinarily nice to us, like that woman, and send them flowers or something and say thank you.
Well, now you can send them a copy of the book.
Well, most of
But you
them are
don't know who
gone,
they
but
are.
you know what I am going to do? The family that was in Mexico, I'm going to try to find.
Well, actually, it was in
I mean Corpus Christi,
Corpus
Texas,
Christi,
the
where you
Mexican
spent
family.
Thanksgiving.
Right, that family. I'm going to find those kids because they were young ones. They'll be around.
Oh,
So
they're pretty well grown up now.
Oh, yeah, they're all adults, but I'm saying I got to find them and I want to be able to, you know, I'm going to send them some money so that they going to say, I'd like you to put flowers at your parents' grave.
Yep. Yeah, the parents probably passed on
For the
by
next
now.
10, 20 years, here's the money to do it.
Yep.
You know, and thank you for, you know, I appreciate what they did for us. And the same thing with that woman, the same thing with the owner of the apple orchard. I don't think I'm ever gonna find that Bill Devers. I wish I could find his descendants to send them something, to send to his.
Well, he had no children, right?
I don't think so.
And his wife had passed on, so he
Yeah.
was probably the last one.
I'm gonna have a hard time, but I only wish I could do it. That's why I dedicated the book to these people.
Yeah. I mean, right now, if you can get a hold of any of them, this will be on the internet.
Yeah.
They could watch it.
Well, I'd love to be able to look them in the eye, or whoever's left of their families, and say thank you.
Right.
Thank you to your mother and father, or your sister and brother, or your aunt, or whoever it was along the way that was nice to us.
But now, I gotta ask you a question in the book, because you didn't finish part of it. Your friend Tom got homesick
Right.
while you were in Texas, and he told you and Steve, I gotta go home.
Right.
But he's going home via California.
Yeah, that was a kind of odd, but that's what he did.
Yeah, I think he was that homesick, he just leave from Texas.
Well, I think that he wanted to at least reach.
Say he completed the journey.
Yeah, he planted the flag in California. So
Right.
now he wanted to get there, but he didn't want to take another 3 months. We had no time limit.
Right, I
You know what I
know.
mean? We didn't get
Yeah, he
there
didn't want to
till,
last any longer on the
well,
road.
because he had, you know, it was a little tougher for him because he had, I think he, if I remember right, he had a girlfriend, and Steve and I were a little bit more on the free-spirited side.
Right.
Tom was a little more stable, had his feet locked to the ground a little more than us. And so I think at that point that
But now
sleeping
you
on the
heard-
ground and everything, he might have got,
You
that
heard
was
from
it.
him when he hit Phoenix,
Yeah.
but we didn't hear any more after that.
No, I didn't, but he did let us know that he got to California and then he sold his motorcycle
Yeah.
and flew home.
Okay, so he did get home all right.
Yeah, he did get home all right.
Because it doesn't in the book that he got home, even got home. All the thing I saw was that you got word in Phoenix that he had made it there.
Yeah, I mean, if I wrote a sequel to this, all that would be at the end of that, you know what I mean?
Right.
There was so much, there's so much to write and so
Oh,
much
yeah.
to talk about here is, I mean, there was even more than, you know, that I could get in the book that we did.
And then when you got to California, there you met some people who weren't very nice.
Well, unfortunately, you know, the adage even today that people say the East and the West Coast are a little,
Yeah.
and the Midwest is like
Right.
well, I can tell you from firsthand experience. Now, I live on the East Coast, fast-paced life, kind of every man for himself. And I worked in California for a long time because I covered the country, and I used to be in California once a month, so I know what the West Coast is like, all the way up to Seattle and Vancouver. And so the East and West Coast are similar, but the core, the middle part of the country, north to south, the whole
Yep.
middle part of the country, those people are like the salt of the earth. I mean, there's nice people on the East and the West Coast, and we met
Right.
them. But all the people, most of the people in the Midwest were nice. When we got
Yep.
to California, first thing that happened, I remember I was cleaning my motorcycle. I stopped to polish my motorcycle. We were at the beach. I think it was
Yep.
San Diego. So we were there. I'm working on my
Seal
bike.
Beach?
I think that's where we were, Seal Beach, and my friend took off to go get us something to eat. And he came, you know, so he was gone. And some woman came up to me and was trying to hustle me. You know, she was trying to threaten me that I took her ring or took something.
Yes, yeah. it
And I
just
kept
in the
saying,
book that
ma'am, you got
stole
the
her
wrong,
ring.
you got the wrong person. I'm I'm not from around here. I don't even know you. And she kept hammering me. And then it was a setup. Then her boyfriend or some big guy came with her.
Yep.
And then he kept saying, hey, you did this to so-and-so, you know, you better come up with the money. And I finally stood up and I said, look, I don't know who you think I am, but I didn't do anything to you guys.
And you
And
had
I'm-
no money to give him anyway.
No, so I'm starting to get very irritated. I think it'd be better for you to leave before something bad happens to you. And right when I said that, my friend Steve came, and he said, Mark, you having a problem here? I said, no, I think nice people were just about to leave, and they left. And then we got a Hell's Angel guy tried to run us off the road.
Yeah.
He really almost got one of us off the road. It was me, I think. And so we chased him on our motorcycles.
Yeah, you
and then
confronted him.
he pulled over, and we
Yeah.
were just about going to go take him out. You know what I mean? I know I sound kind of crude, but back then we did a little fighting. So
Yeah.
we were going to jump that guy, and it ended peacefully. But yeah, there were a lot of crazy things.
But then you went to this Italian restaurant, Mr. Petroselli.
Oh, you remember that part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And you wondered, geez, that name sounds awful familiar.
yeah. So but we were standing outside because we couldn't go in. We didn't have money to eat in a fancy Italian restaurant.
Right.
So but we kept looking at the name, and the owner came out and said, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're just passing through. We're traveling." He saw our bikes and he saw us dressed up. He said, "Are you hungry?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Come on in and have a bite to eat." And so we asked
He's
him.
a nice guy.
Yeah. And so we asked him. He was Italian guy. We said, "Mr. Petroselli, you have any relations in Boston?"
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, yeah, I do." I said, "He didn't happen to play for the Red Sox, did he?"
Third base for the Red
Yeah.
Sox.
And he said, "Yeah, that's my nephew."
Yeah.
And then we
Rico
ended up,
Petroselli.
yeah, so we stayed in his uncle's house.
Yeah.
For 2 nights, he let us
Yeah.
sleep in his house. I was sleeping in Rico Petroselli's uncle's house.
Imagine
Can you
that?
imagine that?
Yeah.
And I would have never guessed that. And we forgot to talk about that another big part of the dream was after we got in the movies, I said, after we got on national TV, I said, we're
You're
going to
gonna
get into the movies.
And you pulled it off.
Well, we didn't play, it was just a thought. I was just spouting off. I said, yeah, we're going to get in the movies. Let's just find a way of doing it. But we didn't know where, when, and how.
Right.
But that's why I said God was good to us. We pulled into Houston, Texas, unbeknownst to anybody. We got there. We wanted to send a couple of postcards back home to tell our folks where we were.
Yep.
And where they could send a package to us if they wanted. And there was a big crowd, big scene, big, lights and stuff like this all over the street by the post office. And I remember asking someone, I said, "Hey, what's going on here?" "Oh, they're filming a movie here." I said, "They're making a movie?" "What movie?" They said, "They're making a movie, The Greatest, with Muhammad Ali." I said, "Muhammad Ali, is he here?" "Yeah, there he is, right over there." And I looked at my 2 friends and I said, "Here's how we're going to get in the
Yeah,
movies."
and you pulled it off.
Yeah, we
So
got
if
in.
you see the Muhammad Ali movie, you see you guys.
Yeah, well, the only part of me you're going to see, but it's still like we got in. But we got paid $25 to be an extra, and we were in a crowd scene holding up a big poster. I forget whether we were for him or against him. I think we were supposed to be for him, and he was against the Vietnam War.
Right.
So we're marching, but we were in the back of about 50 people at the end, right?
Yep.
Because we were the last ones to get hired. And my buddy, Tom didn't want to get in, but Steve and I got in, and my friend Steve's going, he always whined to me. He said, "What are we doing this for? We're not going to get in the movies. The camera's not going to look back here. They're going to be up there with Ali. We're just going to be a blur." And I remember saying, "You're right, we are going to be a blur. We got to get up there where he is." So after lunch, we fought our way through the crowd, and I remember the whole second half, the whole afternoon filming. I was holding Ali's left arm, and he was holding his right arm. And in the movie, right, you see my hand, my arm, my shirt up to my face in the movie.
There you go.
So I got in.
Hey, Mark, we got to wrap it up.
Oh, okay. Are we
Oh,
done
what's
with
it?
an hour already?
I told you. Look, it's available on Amazon.
Yeah.
I got it. In fact, I got it the next day.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble, you can get
Barnes
it in
& Noble.
Yeah, Book Baby, Target, and
Oh,
a
so
whole
it's
bunch of
available
other
everywhere.
places. Yeah.
Four Stroke West. It's a great book. I mean, I read it. I read it a little bit every day, and I got through the whole book in 4 days. But you really don't want to put it down because you can see the next adventure coming on, and the next and the next. So a really enjoyable book. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank
And
you.
we got a quick moment here. I want to say the very last chapter, not the very last, but almost the last chapter. When you were in California, you lived there for about 3 months.
Right,
You almost didn't make it home.
right.
You were in the water.
Oh, I almost drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what,
Only up to your knees.
yeah, so what happened was, I used to work out a lot, so I lifted weights in the room. People gave us stuff because we couldn't afford it. I lifted weights. Then I ran the beach for 2.5 miles, and I came back. It was Seal Beach in California,
Yep.
right near Huntington Beach. And so it was in February, and there was only a couple of people on the beach besides me. And so I knew I was a WSI, so that means I was a water safety instructor. I knew how to
Right.
swim. I used to certify lifeguards. I knew the water, and I knew enough not to go in because I was too tired. So, but I said, I'll just stand in the water knee deep and let my body cool down from like 3 hours worth of exercise. And so I heard, all of a sudden I heard some girl yelling behind me, could you get our football? And I turned around to get the football, and I picked it up, threw it back, and the next thing, all I remember, I was going backwards. I got caught in a riptide. I didn't realize it at first because I said, that'll never happen to me because I know better.
And the first you know, you're out way over
I
your
was
head.
over 300, 400, almost yards. I was way out by the end of the jetty in California. So I couldn't, when I was down between the swells, I couldn't see land. And but that was a lesson for me. I made it, but I remember the devil was telling me, look, just go under, give up, open your mouth, and that's it. So I went down. Finally, I did it. I went under about 3 feet. I could see rays of light coming through the water. It was greenish water. It was a sunny day. And I heard God telling me, it's not your time yet. Come on back up.
And then you pulled yourself up. And
I got up and I did every
Finally
stroke
got
that
to
I could
shore.
remember. I fought my way to shore, and God was sending me a message that no matter how tough you think you are, I can take you out.
Okay, we gotta go, but hey, thank you for coming in,
Yeah.
Mark. It was really interesting. We hadn't really enjoyed that.
Oh, okay, great.
Love to
My
have you
pleasure.
back again.
All right, no problem.
All
Thank
right.
you.
And we'll see you next week on About the Valley.